Kanye, man. Oof. That poor dude.
We're not going to talk about Kanye, Al.
Are we going to talk about crypto?
Yeah, we should. You got some story out of this, don't you?
No, not really. More just it's like lots of story. It's lots of like since our last podcast, crypto has imploded. So like
crypto has imploded. Larry David is getting sued for playing himself as a crypto skeptic in a commercial that they paid him to be in, which is so hilarious. Yeah. It's like the most Larry David thing that has ever happened.
All right, tell me the story.
Well, you know that FTX commercial where he was being...
There's a guy selling crypto stuff to him, and Larry David sitting behind his desk, and he's like, no.
Sounds like a scam. I don't think so.
Sounds like a scam. I don't like it. But it was for a commercial for them, and they literally have named him in a lawsuit for the whole FTX debacle to say like, hey, no, you were on the commercial. So and he was like, I was literally in a commercial as a skeptic. And they're like, yeah, no, but you were on the take. And like you were named with many, many other people.
Can we get the barista in there too?
Yeah. It's a mess. It's a big mess.
That's just the best Curb Your Enthusiasm plot.
The guys that have lost the billions of dollars, they got to be like, what could we possibly do to get some money back like that? Like when you lose $1 billion, what's in your brain when that happens? Like, who can I hurt with me? Hurt people.
Yeah.
You know? Yes. That's what they always say.
People who lost $1 billion fly to the Bahamas and murder SBF.
People that lose $1 billion hurt people that have their $1 billion.
Yeah, it's a pretty big mess.
How much do you think it is going to be like, is this the .com bust moment of crypto that like in 20 years, we're going to be like, oh, like that was a blip.
Everybody on Twitter says, no, this is good for us.
Does anything change the long term?
Tightens it up.
I don't know. It's been shaky enough that like I feel shaken by it.
Yeah.
I think that this is not like the first one of these.
Do you wish you would have sold your Bitcoin at 60?
I mean, I sold a lot along the way,
yeah.
Mostly in the high 50s, which in hindsight makes me seem smarter than I felt at the time when I was like, maybe it's going to 500, but maybe it's not. I don't know, whatever. It's a great lesson in self-custody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's pretty wild that like big, very safe, very well-respected places where people are like, no, I know self-custody is a good idea, but it's at FTX, so it's fine. Or if it's a BlockFi, so that's fine. Or like it all of a sudden is like, this is why the big self-custody people.
Are my few Bitcoins in Coinbase at risk?
I'm going to say at this point, yes, everything is at risk if it's not on some cold storage in your house. But even then, you're still exposed to the price fluctuation. So it's like, the price is lower regardless.
Brian Armstrong would say no, because like we hold everything 1-to-1. We're regulated. We're compliant. We're like everything.
Yeah, but Sam would also have said that 6 months ago. And so it is just truly, and BlockFi said it also. And then, yesterday they had their bankruptcy hearing and they were like, well, we actually custody 1-to-1 and it's in the Gemini store. And it's like, okay, well then why can't I transfer my money out? And so like, I mean, it's messy. It's definitely going to burn a lot of people. I think that it's, maybe not a full reset button, but like in 10 years, does it look like a blip with an 80% drawdown? Maybe.
Yeah.
Or is it like that combined with lack of really tangible use cases? It's like, no, this is different. Like the internet was still working and growing then.
Yep.
That's different. Like show me the good use cases and then I'll buy it. And it's a little like, it's a little scarier than that. So,
I mean, we have talked ourselves still, like we feel confident still investing in some crypto things that are very, very long-term oriented.
Solves the problem, right? Like,
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Like, if it is a company with one of those long-term
tokens
views,
as holders of value, maybe less enthusiastic.
Like I think at a very minimum, it's a great reminder that if you're going to be writing big checks, doing some diligence trumps social proof.
Yeah. Do you feel wasn't it A16Z was the big backer of FTX or who was it?
I kind of think everybody was at some point along the way.
And can you write that couple $100 million check and just not verify or like look at the spreadsheet? Like how does that even happen?
Well, that was the letter that Sequoia wrote, right? There was like, it was a big number that we put in, but please remember how many billions of dollars we manage. Like this is a blip in our whole portfolio. We're still outperforming. Like it's all going to be fine.
Yeah,
that was basically the letter they wrote to LPs.
Well, yeah, but like they shouldn't have been able to write that check without getting deep in the numbers, right? Like they wouldn't write me a check for even
especially now.
for even a few dollars without like getting very aggressive.
Yeah, that is where I think there are a lot of similarities to like crazy.com boom and bust, where like an entire sector, the hotness of the sector trumping seriousness of investors, where it's like, well, of course it's fine because Tom Brady invested and Sequoia invested and the product exists. And yes, there is revenues. So now we don't care about the price. $32 billion valuation gone to zero in 48 hours means that like clearly there was like a lack of diligence, obviously. Yeah. But like, I think that's what happens in overheated sectors is like all the money goes because nobody's willing to do the work. And then it's like a reminder, like, you should probably talk to your founders, for example, like before you invest.
Once you have like 3 people standing in line to write the check, right? Like there's so much pressure to finish the deal in that first one of like, if I don't, I lose this deal. And then you got to make the decision right there. Like, yeah.
And it should feel so much different at later stage stuff. Like giving somebody $1 billion as a Series D should be a very, very different level of diligence than like Tom Brady's in and they're smart founders.
Yeah, that's a thing that I don't think that I have like a great feel for because like I know it's true. And I know as someone who's gone out to like raise seed rounds, raise A rounds, raise B rounds, at each one of those, the expectations from investors like really do change.
Yeah.
I've never invested in or been a part of an F round, for example. Right. And so part of me thinks like, my God, the diligence should be going up and up and up and up and up. And they want to be in your office and looking at stuff and quadruple checking everything. And then the reality is it's like, I don't know. It's just a lot of money.
The E round really covered that, I guess.
Yeah, right. And I think that's right. Like, well, they wouldn't be in if that work hadn't already been done. And so everybody assumes the work has been done. And I think that's like a very tricky thing in overheated spaces. I don't think we'll see it again for a while. We'll see it again in our lifetimes for sure.
Yeah.
Well, also if you're hiding, like if you're Sam and you're hiding the reality in there, right? Like it's very easy to shut down. Like, oh, we want to get in there, and you say, look, man, I'm not going to waste my time with this. And they say, okay, well now we're back to the decision of like, do I be a part of this great story, or do I let it go?
Yeah, it's funny. Like we're going to hear lots of. We've already heard many of them. We'll hear more of the people who put in 100 million, $1 billion, 500 million, and it basically went to zero. It's harder to find, but I hope we get to hear some of the stories of like, we were thinking about putting in 250 million and we did not because of this. And I actually hope the LPs and those investors get to hear those stories and been like, I'm really happy we're with these guys because they did not lose our 250 million. But those are like hard, like nobody wants to brag about the past, right? Because at the time they're embarrassed about that past, right? Like, hey, we did not put the money in, whether it's because something didn't smell right or we're a stodgy old investor or whatever. It's like, I don't know.
You kind of keep your mouth shut on a lot of that.
And then it's not even a good look of your like
dunking on.
Yeah, you're like you're the guy next to the cemetery stone throwing deuces,
it's
right?
Not like, look, and so I think you don't get to hear a lot of those stories, but I'm sure they were for everybody who lost a 9-figure number in that, there had to be a dozen who were the passes who at the time were like, oh my God, I hope we're not missing out on the next literally $1 trillion company, right?
Yeah.
We're investing at 32 billion, hoping it goes to $1 trillion. And instead within a week, it goes to zero. There are a lot of people who have to be like, I have been vindicated. Unfortunately, I can't tell anyone.
Yeah.
And that's a crazy dynamic.
Yeah.
So, but it also means there's still tons and tons of capital out there. There's, great companies are going to be built and all that stuff. People are going to do more diligence.
I feel like there's so much of that, like, you make it through high school and then you get married, but like you see on Facebook all these exes, and you're like, I didn't do that one. And look, guys. Oh, yes.
Nailed it.
That's not me.
Absolutely
not
nailed it. Right. Yeah, that's right.
What's stopping you, Al?
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Let me write a post. Dear Brittany, if I may, I'm the one that didn't go out.
Yeah.
Look at you now.
Yeah.
Now I know what you do with your quiet moments.
That's right.
That's That's probably what's. I haven't been on Facebook in a long time, but I feel like that's probably what's going on there.
Well, not enough of it. It's more just like ads for MLMs in the post or in the marketplace. Yeah. But there should be more like, to all my exes, I want to tell you.
Do an Ariana Grande on them.
Oh, yeah. Ariana.
Anyway, nice. Yeah, it's been pretty messy. I think what you said is right. Like, definitely down to look at cool things being built in the blockchain and crypto spaces. I think like it remains super duper early. is this going to look like a .com bust in 20 years where like, yeah, you just had to be in Amazon and Apple and Microsoft and everything worked out great and not be in pets.com? Or is it going to be like, hey, this whole space is going to end up serving, big corporations who need to do distributed ledger stuff? I don't know, but like down to see what comes out of this.
Yeah. Wait, you don't have an answer?
No, I don't.
I get the sense this may be, and who knows how long it'll last. Like if these are short cycles, but like this may be the period like 2000 to 2005 where like bravery is rewarded through like the slow burn of long-term like perspectives. And I think what we said originally was we want things that are like crypto native, like use cases, people who are already in crypto and companies that can work just selling to those, or like deep slow burn infrastructure plays. And
we love like web,
just changed it even more towards the
Web 2
latter.
entrance. In Web 2 entrance into Web 3 was really interesting, right? Of like we're taking these use cases that like you have to sign up for the funky wallets and stuff, and now we've made it easy to get to. I think if you remove the financial opportunity that crypto represented and force people to like identify the other pieces of crypto that are interesting, like I think all that still holds true. Right?
I think the Web 2 like the consumer facing like not already into crypto stuff is going to suffer for like a while. And like if you're starting to start one of those now, it's going to be a rough road. But if you're like so I just went to Money 2020 and like there was a ton of very well-funded big crypto companies selling like crypto custody to existing banks and financial institutions. Like they're sophisticated, they're advanced, they're growing, they are like closing deals. And I think it means we're going to see like crypto wallets inside your bank account within 3 years.
Yeah.
Or at least start to get rolled out. And like, it's interesting to see, if that's the distribution channel because it's already inside a trusted financial institution. Regulators already approved it. I already have a relationship with my bank. Like,
wait, why are
if
you
that's
laughing?
the install point, like, then that stuff will get added on top.
It's hilarious because it's like, so what we're going to do is reinvent the banking system with the banks.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's
finally
different. It's different than what I thought it was going to be.
Finally,
Right?
we decentralized.
Yeah.
Thanks to Goldman Sachs.
Honestly,
Exactly.
That's exactly what happened in the early internet, though, too. It was all these like crazy ideologues that were like, oh, good, like governments are no longer relevant.
Yeah.
And like we won't build commercial enterprises or governments anymore. And all the internet did was like enable the currently existing powerful institutions, create some new ones. But like, it's very likely that crypto will be even more so because it's so already regulated, like the financial pieces. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because like I was talking to a guy yesterday that is like building a front to GPT-3, right? Like where like you have to kind of know how to write the prompts to get stuff out, and same with Stable Diffusion and Dolly and stuff, and like being able to come one layer this way to sort of Web 2.0 it, where you say, oh yeah, this is what I'm looking for, and they translate it into a thing that needs to go into the thing to give you the result that you're trying to get. I think I mean, I love that sort of idea for starting a company where essentially you're going to look at crypto and say, or blockchain and say, I understand how this is going to solve a thing, and it's hard for me to do, and I'm a smart person. Like I'm going to do the little interface to make it easy.
Yeah.
And if you, I mean, that's what retail is, right? If you can own the consumer interaction with a product, you're doing a great job. Like go start those companies. Go start them.
Yeah.
And we'll be here and we'll support it. Just don't start companies that are holders of, asset values, because that's not what we need.
Frauds.
Right now. Yeah. There's 40 minutes on our musings of crypto, dude. I love because I'm partly here because you guys love this stuff a lot and spend a lot of time and energy in it, and so I've been very curious to hear the debrief on it because I just see what's on Twitter.
Yeah.
So nice, very cool. Wait, does he go to jail?
SBF?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've loved watching like New York Times talk about him, like, oh, this poor guy lost his money again. And it's like, wait.
I mean,
did he defraud everybody?
He might just like John McAfee and just like stay in the Bahamas forever until like start his own militia,
That was great of McAfee.
I don't think Sam makes it out alive.
Really?
That's what I think. I think
you think he gets murdered?
I don't know. I think
you think he gets Silk Roaded?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I think jail is definitely in bounds if he can get that far. I I think he's going to have a tough go, but I don't know. We'll see. I think it's wild that he's remained like active on Twitter and stuff, like completely wild.
Yeah.
Like
he's having
like went on a podcast and stuff. It's like, hey guys.
Yeah, whatever. It's going to be a great movie when they make the movie.
Yeah. Can you believe Michael Lewis has been following him around for 6 months?
It's going to be I cannot wait to read the Michael Lewis book. It's going to be fantastic. I cannot wait.
Unbelievable. I saw somebody tweet like Jonah Hill better already be gaining weight and growing his hair out. I can't wait to see this thing. Let's go.
No, I've seen Ryan Gosling as Sam with a hilarious thing. Like it's gonna be great drama if nothing else. So happy to get to see that.
I think Joe Lowe is still like at large on a yacht in international waters.
Sure.
The $1 billion whale.
Yeah.
That's great.
Still waiting for that movie.
Yeah. Jonah Hill better start gaining weight and growing his hair out for that one too.
Yep.
The Malaysian Prince.
Yep.
Yeah.
Come on.
He'd be pretty good. So would Bobby Lee. That'd be real.
I just want Jonah Hill and everything.
Yeah.
He's earned it.
Yeah. No, he's great.
All right. Do we have other life or news updates? Do you have a town update, Mayor Doan?
No town updates of which to speak. Just had a nice Thanksgiving. That's all I was doing, man.
Did you cook?
No, we went, well, a little, I guess. No, I mean, just traveling with 3 boys.
Nice.
Man, dude, I had my first time. Like, we got home, we flew home, get in the car. I didn't realize that it had been like 6 hours since these dudes have eaten.
Oh.
And so we get in the car and it's just like, and I go to hit the drive-through and I'm like, I'd like 3 kids' meals. And they're like, the poor lady up in the front is like, I'm so sorry. I roll down the window. She's like, and I'm like, this never happens. Please give me food. I'll do anything. It's like, it's like the movies. Parenting.
Yeah.
It's great.
My only PSA regarding Thanksgiving is that if you don't brine your turkeys and you roast, you're doing it wrong.
Oh,
you
yeah.
gotta get that brine. Don't blame the turkey
Do you
for
know
your
what
laziness.
I've been into the Cajun turkey smoked.
Yeah.
Make a second one just for sandwiches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You gotta. Yeah.
How's the sandwich feed?
The sandwich feed is strong. The sandwich feed is strong. Al is constantly guilting me about the quality of my sandwich feed relative to my updates about portfolio companies.
I'll say, man, our fund would probably be doing better if you put as much Twitter effort into our investments and updates as you do into that sandwich feed, because that sandwich feed is on fire.
It is fire.
It's I work hard on it. Thank you. Thank you for noticing. I got a lot of good people are just like texting me photos of their sandwiches after Thanksgiving. This is some very impressive specimens.
That's great. Oh, that is great.
Yeah. Sausage wrapped in bacon. I got a buddy, Derek, who makes the moist maker, and he like soaks the middle piece of bread in gravy. It's like, how do you get the gravy to stay on the sandwich? It's good.
Wasn't that your nickname?
I'll show you. I can show you the picture. It has an aura.
The sandwich has an aura. Way into that, and I couldn't finish it. It's just slow pitch softball. Just laying it out there.
Yeah, it's too easy. Bo's currently buying a domain.
Google domains. Moistmaker.com seems like a thing that we should at least know.
No, Glenn Beck owns that already. Come on.
Let's see. Moist Maker.
Oh my God. All right. So while Bo does that, Al, do you want to start some investment updates?
Yeah, I really do.
Some Q4 magic. Our first one was Tonic.
Oh yeah. So this is who we're writing checks into in Q4.
Yeah, this is the Q4 portfolio to date. So we got 3 of them, and Tonic Audio is the first.
Yeah.
Which is your
Tonic
fund.
Audio. These are some friends of mine, Ethan and Allison Jennings. I know Allison for like a decade or more, and then I've stayed at their house and eaten wings with them in Reno. They are good people. Allison was an e-com guru in the beginning, and then she's a developer that has built like great things that people use all the time. And then she went into Pinocchio, which was an Internet of Things company that she built and did fantastic with. I don't know how the outcome was, but like she was like designing hardware on my couch in Missouri when she was out visiting, and it was awesome. And so now she's back doing another one, and she and her husband Ethan, and they're both musicians, and they're fantastic musicians, love the music space, and they came with the problem that like they'd been staring at about like collaborating on writing a song and making making music is kind of a pain. You're still sending files back and forth to each other, and you're messing around with Dropbox and trying to, it's sort of like a GitHub for songs would have been nice, sort of thing. And so they took blockchain sort of approach to writing music and determining contributions and simplifying, feedback and results and all that stuff into music making. And they're rock and rolling. They just got through the Techstars over in London and are building great stuff. And so super, super stoked to be backing them. And like, just honestly, like great human beings that I love jumping in with and like figuring stuff out. And so they've been fun. You can check them out, tonicaudio.com. Go sign up and be on the wait list and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a cool. I remember my first impression was kind of like, oh no, is this sound like, are we starting with just SoundCloud? Like, is this a better SoundCloud with like some revenue stuff attached to it? And they're like, no. This is like collaboration and creation tools. And I was like, oh yes. Like GitHub, version control, contribution management, like all for audio, and not just songs, but like podcasts, right? Like producing a podcast
a great
is hard as
example
hell.
of like blockchain still solves a lot of problems, right? Like we should be using this tech in a lot of ways that make lives better. And this is one of those that like, does exactly that.
And I think this is a cool, like we might have as we look back at like what companies won in the like blockchainification of stuff, I think we might end up with like a come for the tool, stay for the network kind of thing, where it's like a company that is massively useful, a tool that is useful on its own, like this, that is like, oh, we just use it for collaboration for years before we actually like bothered with the monetization, like revenue driving like piece. That could be really interesting.
Well, that really was what was exciting. Is like we don't have to dream of the future.
Mm-hmm.
They solve a problem today.
Yep.
That you get to go get behind, and then all the other stuff that's coming down the pipe is what's exciting to us. And so,
yeah, it's cool. I'm excited to use it for podcast production. Honestly, like
seriously,
there's a lot of remote teams building podcast stuff. Like I'm not as familiar with the music industry, but I am certain that the remote stuff is. They
were explaining to me like, and I got a couple guys that are producers that I talked to as well, and they confirmed this. But it's like there's like 50 iterations that'll happen on a song. It's the same as like a document before Google Docs, where you're like, wait, final with my initials. Like, I have no idea which one we're supposed to be working out of. And you're just emailing back and forth and hoping that you don't pick up the wrong one while somebody else is working on it. And so, and that's solved with simple version control, but version control in a way that you can actually use and fits in the workflow is hard to do.
Yeah. This is one that I think is, it is a kind of company that I love, where it's like, this is obviously going to exist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then the question is like, yeah, but who's going to build it? And when somebody like you, Al, comes through and is like, I know these people and I love these people, it's like, okay, fantastic. Yep. That's such an easy bet to make. I think that's going to obviously exist. Is it going to be in 1 year, 2 years, or 20 years? Who knows? But the right people working on it are going to manifest it sooner than later. And then the bet is really like awesome people pull off great things like that.
Yeah.
So
totally.
It's a kind of a no-brainer. So I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah. Where are they based?
Reno.
Okay, cool.
Dude, they're like, if you ever get through Reno, go crash with them, man. They are the best and like the greatest hosts. So good. Yeah,
sweet. We're gonna go to Tahoe in a couple weeks, so I'll be flying through. Through Reno. I love
flying into Reno is terrifying. That's a hard airport to fly into because like the valley and stuff. But great food. Like cool. Reno's so overlooked as a gem in the. Well, there's really only 2 gems in Nevada. Well, Elko is complaining, but like you get to Reno, it's still a good time. You have a great spot.
Nice. I had somebody ask us the like LPs that we were talking to, and they're like, "Oh, are you like a Midwest Access Fund?" And I was like, "I don't think so, but let me go check." And so I like ran through all our portfolio companies, the investments we made so far, and I was like, "Actually, we only have one in the Midwest." Like
we do. I mean, our networks should produce a lot more in the Midwest, right? Like I think we're probably non-San Francisco and New York focused, right? Not deliberately focused, but like those ones have plenty of people investing in them. And I like Lumo's out of New York, right? It's a buddy. That's our network pulled us there. But like most of our stuff is like a Reno, I don't think counts as San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
Or an Austin, Texas isn't that yet.
Utah, Miami, Denver, Atlanta, LA, a couple in the Bay.
All good spots,
a couple in Europe. But I never love the funds that are like, we only invest in like this one specific geography. That's just like not how networks work anymore.
Pigs.
At least not with
No, I agree.
Not
I think that's one of those like
Twitter.
Where do your deals come from?
Yeah.
And your deals come from like people you know and Twitter, and those are just honestly, it feels like weirdly outdated to be regional if you have worked in tech for more than 10 years at this point
and been moving and been writing and been podcasting. Like that's just
I mean, there's some of them that like if we were Kansas City focused, right? We're trying to pull more people out of this ecosystem and maybe giving a few more shots to people that wouldn't otherwise get it. But the ones like it's a completely different fund. That's not a fund for a monster return. That's a fund to try and improve an ecosystem that doesn't exist yet, right? And we're clearly focused on
with the monster return fund
on big swings that we think can make it back. It's such a fun. Really our only filter we put on is can this 100x?
Yeah,
right? And if we believe it can, and we can justify that, and we like the people, it's doable.
Yep. Yeah. This is the way.
Follow us.
Our next 100x candidate is a beautiful transition. Stell Engineering. I'm very excited about this one.
Go on.
Okay, so the two co-founders, Mallory and Ann, met at Harvard Business School, where they were co-presidents of the Aerospace Club.
What dorks! Oh my gosh! No, I'm just kidding.
We love to invest in nerds. Yes. Like Mallory has been at Anduril, Raytheon, Airbus, and she was at Hadrian, and like just left to start this company. She was like the first PM hire at Hadrian, who's like manufacturing precision parts.
I feel like you're just showing
companies.
off at that point on the resume where it's like I was at all of these and this one.
She's just making it easy to invest in her. That's great.
No,
we're
clearly
not mad about
easy.
That.
Clearly,
but that is like the exact background you want to have because she like so Stell Engineering is going to basically like sell.
If you were writing a movie and we're like, what should it? You just write that in there and be like,
if you started with just here's the company idea, like who can you get to make this thing most successful? Like Mallory and Ann.
Were you a co-president with anybody in college?
No, I wasn't.
I was a vice president of a math club, and vice to the Filipino president, my roommate Manny, very nice man. But
be a great vice president now.
But would love to start a company and just lead with I was a vice president of the math club with this guy. I just love that as the headline.
I don't think she would lead with that, but I thought it was like the right way to introduce the concept.
As the thing that's like they are awesome because they were co-president of the Aerospace Club.
You got to know that the founders know each other well and have worked together before.
Much cooler than what you're representing.
I'm certain. I'm certain that they are. No, they're both wonderful people. And the concept, I like the idea and what they're going to do because it's just very like firsthand observing through their careers how much hardware engineers struggle to like find and work with product specs to build shit. Like there's a lot of CADs out there. But like the product requirements and specs are all in like PDFs that people are emailing around that like Raytheon wrote in 1995, and people are like searching for the stuff. So they're taking like all of that cruft, digitizing it, making it like searchable, easy, condensable.
Is this similar to like for my John Deere tractor and I look up the diagram and you can't click on anything in the diagram and you're trying to see if that's actually the one you need and you're not
and you want to be sure that it's the right year
and you're going through thousands of pages of PDF. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that a great idea for hardware engineers specifically in like this deep tech?
Dude, you can imagine how I know how frustrating that is just to reorder lug nuts for a wheel.
Yeah.
And like zoom into like a plane with all of those schematics and trying to like interact with that would be
you're paying hardware engineers like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to build satellites, and you're like, wait, you have a launch pad on the way because you can't find the right part to have a thing. Like, how much would you pay to solve that problem?
Like in my head, I'm like, well, for sure they wouldn't be doing this same bull crap as I'm doing. Yeah. Oh no, they do. They live in the same world.
And she's like, let me show you like the problem. Here is the PDF. Here's the sticky notes. Here's like the garbage that we're dealing with like as PMs in this world. And it's like, oh damn, like that is so much worse than I thought. And so the problem is very real. I think it's like unsexy hard work to like digitize a ton of PDFs. There's a bunch of customers, and then they can kind of do this really cool like I think that's a great beachhead actually to like work backwards into like supplier relationships where they're now the proprietary providers of that information. Now they got a little bit of Bloomberg, and then they've got like we're in the perfect place to like win this ERP business. So like I see a path to them being like a really really huge company.
Be the preferred method, right? Like like once that exists and you're still over here paging through PDFs, you're just saying to your guy constantly like, Freaking make my life easier. Save me thousands of hours a year and just give me this software.
And how many times have you like gotten a Slack from an engineer who's like, hey, can I buy this thing? It'll save me like 10 hours a week. And you're like, yes.
Sold. Yep.
Buy immediate. So yeah, I think that's a cool, and I love like we are in this space with a ton of like tailwind. Like space is taking off, deep tech hardware is taking off. There's all these like money and growth in this space.
People are going to be building more stuff with engineers.
Yeah.
Safe bet.
We should go into this.
Yeah, but we're also not like taking that massive like it's a B2B SaaS business model with exposure to all of those tailwinds. These were referred by Everest Brady, who's an LP. And, like, he is like winning the trophy for most LP referrals.
Dude, I love a referral.
And he's at Hadrian. So like he saw Mallory, like his coworker, leaving to start this company. He's like, dude, you should go meet Mallory.
Everest, like, much love. That's amazing.
Thank you. That's the perfect way to pull people. Like see it happening. You say, no, I'm in a fund.
Yep.
They should totally look at this. This is great.
Yep.
I have proprietary knowledge of what's happening. Let's go.
Yeah. And it's, I like Josh Wolf has a thing about this of like the place that we find the next great company is like the edge of the last round of great companies that we found. I was like, oh, yep. This is like somebody at a growing, amazing company like Hadrian, super cool, who's like leaving to start a thing that Hadrian needs to continue to grow. Like money.
No, that's great.
Yep. I love that. It's also made us think a little harder about like, there's actually the next company is also an LP referral. And it's been like, how do we work with and reward LPs who like bring us the companies that.
Well, first,
do we
a poinsettia?
I was gonna say, do we have the best LPs?
We do have the best LPs.
Maybe we have the best LPs.
I mean, you got him an edible arrangement, didn't you? He said, thank you.
Like a seasonally appropriate arrangement is the first thing that you would get.
I vote a box of pears. They're just delicious. You get the one wrapped in gold. It's a nice thing to open.
This is the third time today that Al has mentioned pears. I don't know why Al is.
I have a pear tree. I eat pears. I have pear pie.
He needs a pear pie.
Pears. I eat them fresh. I'm a big fan.
You've got a pear.
He's the Bubba Gump of pears. Amazing. I didn't know that's what we were in business with. But
Harry and David.
I like pear pie. I like pear jam. I like a peach pie. I like this.
So we have. So I talked to AngelList about the like what can we do to reward them above and beyond poinsettias and edible arrangements. Which, Everest, I'm going to need your address. But rolling funds make it really easy for us to share carry on a deal by deal basis. So we have not like done math on specifics yet, but I think we're going to institute a policy of like carry share with referring LPs.
Yeah. If you do some of that legwork, we want to give you a big high five.
Yeah, a big high five and hopefully a big check eventually.
It's the same thing in my world.
Yeah, a high five full of money.
Yeah,
like, there you go.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's a cool thing to be able to say like. Ideally, if you refer us a deal, like we can write a bigger enough check maybe than some people can individually that you like make more money by referring and sharing carry with us than you could investing, $5,000 or $10,000 of your own money. And that because of the LP, like AngelList already has all the LP paperwork,
old and broken,
stuff, like
scouts, new hotness, shared carry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like for apparently a bunch of reasons, like they make it pretty easy on us. Yeah. And all the accreditation stuff is already done. Like, it's pretty rad.
Send us your people.
Yeah, and I think it's just like good. Like that's good karma to reward. I know both like refer to. I mean, we all have referred deals to investors who probably made a bunch of money, and the companies are better off, and that's all great. And gravy, but
and
like
they sent us a poinsettia
if we're lucky.
And the seasonally
you don't even get like honestly, you don't even get follow-ups on most times. You like send an intro, like you're lucky to get a hey, I had a conversation with them and they did great.
Yep.
Like we're really excited about it kind of thing without following up individually. But yeah, I think this is a cool deal. And it just feels like the right thing to do.
Yep.
Bo, you're a man of few words today. I'm just gonna say, well, you did give us a lot of crypto.
Bo's trying not to incriminate himself, unlike
no.
Al over.
I like this a lot. I think when your LPs work as scouts for you because it's good for them and good for you, and you can get those incentives aligned, it is like a thing that I'm actually like super duper excited about. So like I think us figuring out how to make it super easy for LPs, and much props to Everett and
Everest,
also,
like
Everest.
a mountain.
Yeah. Everest.
His Twitter bio is like just trying to live up to his name.
And I think Mark actually on this next one also referred it to us as an LP, which is like that feels really like the engine starting to turn in the right way.
Well, it's cool too if you kind of check into us, use us like we're not like a self-directed charity fund or something, but like you put money in, have a say in where it goes. We're 100% open to ideas and connections and all that stuff.
And it's a good way to have like, a lot of the LPs.
Also, Eric takes most of those meetings, so it like impacts us very little. We say, yeah, absolutely. Talk to Eric.
We have a bunch of LPs who have said like, this is part of me like learning to angel invest more, and I want to be a part of a few funds and like learn who does what and why. So like, what will I learn for being a part of this? And individual companies are actually a really great way to like have some of those conversations. Like Everest has sent me a bunch, and sometimes we chat through, and it's kind of like, hey, this is actually like not that exciting for me for these reasons. He's kind of like, oh, okay, cool, got it. Or this one is really exciting, and here's why. So it's a good way to kind of like interact and have stuff to talk about and move forward on. Ensian is another.
Tell us about Ensian.
Yeah, I'm still not quite sure how to pronounce it.
Ensian.
I'm going with Ensian.
Ensian.
Nsion. They're referred by Mark Bidwell, who's a LP. He's also like a board member of this company and has invested a lot and done a lot of work with them personally. So very high like signal on that one for sure. And this is a special round because it was sort of like we are the only institution and we're the only like people outside the company who got to invest in it. And it's because he's an LP. So he's like, hey, we're doing this. Like, you guys want to put a little money in? Because it's an insider round, it's an absurd valuation deal. I think
good absurd.
Yeah, good absurd.
They're making money. They're doing a great job, and they're giving us a very generous valuation. Right?
Yeah, like it is like a late seed level of company robustness and maturity for a very pre-seed sort of valuation. So I'm excited about it. I think their tech is really cool, and it's a bunch of like people who have been in the industry a long time. Like, this is not a young kid startup. These are like seasoned execs, built a board, got customers and government contract customers. So the tech itself is this software infrastructure for streaming video between any devices and any network quality. So their market specifically is these like critical communications. So security, military, police, fire. And the cool, like the best way to sum it up is like video is the new radio. Like everybody you see with like a radio over their shoulder, like that's going to be a body cam, and there's like streaming video. All the soldiers are going to have it. Like it is just a total sort of upgrade to all that stuff.
So is this just like a TriCaster for?
It's no hardware. It's software only. I don't know what a TriCaster is, but I just corrected you as though I did.
Like when Bo goes to a basketball game that his kid's playing, and he sets up a couple cameras. You got a thing on the iPad, like switch between it. It's the software. It's not the iPad, right?
Yep.
But it pulls in all the streams and then lets you sort of create a streamer dashboard.
Yep.
That consumes all those, whether it's an iPhone, a drone, or like a body cam.
Yeah.
Some dude running around.
Yeah. And so I think like if you think of the tailwinds of this company as like the number of drones and body cams sending feeds to phones, iPads, command centers, like and you need like any network quality, instant variability, like lives are at stake. Like that is a critical thing.
You think of this, like data makes a lot of sense, right? Like I remember, what was it? GNIP did, they normalized the Twitter feed. So you could just be like, oh, from this guy to this guy. Like they made a bunch of money sitting as just normalizing this feed so that APIs could interact with it. You take that to video and it's like different bandwidths, different formats, different all that. Great. You're going to normalize it into one thing and let me write my program against this so that I can just say, oh yeah, I want to see this thing. And I don't have to think about anything else. There's a ton of money to be made.
Ton of money. It's a hard engineering problem. And so many of the customers are like big governments, organizations, that I think it takes like a team with this sort of level of maturity and experience. And
do they need any help?
I
have a drone. I can beta test it. No, I mean, that's kind of the best part. This feels more like a Series A sort of stage company that's just doing a little bridge from their seed.
Yeah.
So we're getting into valuation that's like within our params.
Yeah. And I mean, the big debate we had about like, is how big can this thing get? And so I think it's kind of a slam dunk, like 20 to 50x, which is like a bold statement, but like risk adjusted, all things being equal, like it is a very robust early
guys,
stage
we
company.
Are pre-rich
again,
guys, for sure.
But I think the like next leg up that is cool, and where they might potentially sort of take another order of magnitude is like the value of what can get laid on top of that video feed. So if you think about all the computer vision stuff, all of the AI, like image recognition, instant communications, it can get like fired off. Like the video feed itself, if you can deliver it and if you are sort of the owner of it, can become really, really, can become a platform, I think, honestly. And like that's a cool thing to see.
Wasn't there like, there's a guy that did a TV show that was just like sort of built around the live feed, fire and ambulance. You know what I'm talking about?
Cops?
There's cops. No, there's another one that's like it's
I don't think we're talking about is live streaming battlefield
it's like
footage.
A crisis management thing where like
Reno 911.
No, man.
I was thinking more like Minority Report.
Yeah.
I hope it's more Minority Report and less Reno 911. Although I did learn on this podcast that Reno's a lovely town. So I don't know.
Very nice.
Is it true that this is our first European investment?
Isn't it true? Isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Pretty true. We've invested in European founders before, but I think this is the first European headquarters.
Are we focused on Europe?
Are we a global fund?
I would say we accept. Yes, we are now Rolling Fund International.
Guys, also by buying dinner with the fund fees, we are professional investors. Did you know that?
Hey, way to go, guys!
I mean, we technically
we have
all right.
We have accepted money for this.
Yeah,
we're
I didn't want to call it a full-time job, but it's a job.
And we're professionals.
And we're professionals. Do they pay us money to do this? Absolutely.
And now that we've invested in Ensign, I think we can also say that we're officially saving lives.
Oh, I've been saying that all along.
Oh, okay. All right. Good.
The kitchen knobs game.
That's true. Yeah.
They actually legit.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's not the first time we've saved lives, but it is. We are adding to our total.
Absolutely.
Repeat
lifesavers.
Guilty.
No, Mark told me a cool story about the Finnish police already using Ensign to they like had drone footage. They were apparently in Finland, like it gets dark really early because they're so far north. And the whole thing is just a forest.
What?
And so people like just get lost all the time in the forest as like cats get lost off trees, and they got to like go find them before they freeze because Finland's terrifying. So they're just like flying over huge swaths of land with drones as quickly as they can to like scan it and using Ensign to like.
That's actually cool if like you can
use the infrared.
Jam this thing over and you're gonna like.
It's not like waiting on humans to recognize stuff. It's kind of like look for any infrared signal that is like above a certain size and like
drive your things as fast as you can across thousands of miles of stuff.
Yeah, super rad.
Yeah.
Can we call them if I ever get lost? You'd be like,
Al.
I know.
Can we borrow your drone?
Hey Siri.
Al's got a big enough lot to get lost in his own land and freeze.
No, one time I was driving my tractor and my the emergency SOS stuff that happens on your phone when you push the button too long. So like I didn't hear it. I'm just out there cruising with my son, like mowing trails, and it like calls 911. They try and call my phone. Of course, it's always on silent, so I don't, and it goes right to voicemail. Then it sends a text to like my sister and my mom and my wife that's like, Al's having an emergency. Here's his location. Go to him. And so like, I don't think anything of it. I pop out of this trail and my wife is in the minivan driving through the field, like, just comes plowing in, like tears running. She's got the baby's thrown in the back. She's like, are you okay? I got this text. I was like, hey, what's going on? My sister comes flying in with her husband from 20 minutes away. Like they're going 100 miles an hour down the road. Like, we're going to come save you. My mom didn't even read the text. Like,
good riddance.
but I was like, I got to turn that off, man. That was like, I am so sorry. I'm not dead. Sorry you couldn't call me. I have a brush hog going on my track.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh my God.
So if you call Ensign next time, not my sister. Can I put them as emergency contact?
I'm not sure we can help with that.
No, just give me the CEO's
that might just
number.
Be a settings issue.
I want the drone to come find me.
Yeah.
Al's fine.
Yeah. Next time Dre will just fly the drone out.
Al's lost.
Yeah, I like that.
That'd be cool.
I did not know that's how that feature worked. I've seen that thing before.
Yeah,
never gotten to the like it actually fires off.
You keep
anything.
going. Calls 911, which is just like in our place. It's like, hey, it's Billy. You need a thing?
Yeah.
And they called me back and like nothing happened, so they did nothing. Like they didn't show. I was like, good. Also,
now we know.
Then it sends text with your location, everybody, and they freak out.
Okay. All right.
Now you know.
The more you know. Also, the more you know about our portfolio updates.
Yeah.
Hey.
Okay, so couple companies are killing it.
Yeah.
All of them.
We're only going to tell you about the companies killing it.
Wait, we have one that's not killing it. Stable Gains, right?
Stable Gains is unironically,
Stable Gains was the staking. We take ACHs to stake money against crypto assets and help you get those returns.
They got caught in the Luna blow up.
They got caught. Yeah,
unstable losses.
You could not ask
branding.
You could not ask somebody to like be a more class act through the implosion of their company.
Yeah,
like they did a fine job. Was literally just on the wrong track.
Yeah, Camille and Emil are doing great. They are honorably discharging their duties. But it does look like that company's not going to be left with any capital probably. The legal and regulatory compliance stuff is just like dwindling them down, and they're looking for the exit ramp. It was our minimum check size, so like I'm going to give the Sequoia line and say like we're okay. Other companies in that corner are doing great. That is not how we hoped that would go, but
guys, that's very, very early stage investing. You're supposed to lose money on many investments.
8 of the 10 are supposed to go. At least 6 of the 10. So like this is in the right category. We were early. We tried a thing. It didn't work. That's fine.
Yep. Knowing everything we knew then, I would do this deal again. And also doing everything we do now, we would never do this deal. So like that means we got smarter in the process, and that's part of the goal.
Yep.
Much props to those folks.
Yeah.
And excited to see what they go do next.
Yep.
But on the plus side,
let's look at something more positive.
Gently.com.
Oh, come on, Al. More positive
foods.
Come on. Come on.
That was bump set, and then I went and got lunch. It
just Al's got low blood sugar. He's hungry. It's been 45 minutes since he ate something, so he's fading.
Look, I'm a big guy. There's a lot of fuel in this body. Positive Foods. This is our buddy Skylar, who they're killing it. They're doing a great job. Their update, like big up and to the right graph, but they're slowly rolling out new stuff. They are in Whole Foods now. I think they took over the salad bar for some of their regional Whole Foods, which is really exciting. Because that's much easier to manage than like one-off inventory pieces, and so they have less spoilage. They also had some update to their algo that like reduced spoilage on their normal stuff to like 11%, where the industry average is like 40%.
Yeah,
and so doing an excellent job there, making more money while losing less is a great spot to be. So good for them. And they did their Series A. Is that new between the last podcast?
I think so.
Yeah, so they've moved into their Series A. It's just a cool team, and it's such a cool product to like be excited about, man. Yeah. Where you're like, oh, everybody in America can eat fresh food every day because we're going to solve the supply chain issues. Great.
Yeah.
Also, they write great investor updates.
They do write great investor updates.
Really, really good investor updates. So that is one of those. When you're on the investing end, you really appreciate it. When you're on the founding end, sometimes a lot of people are like, oh, I got to do another one of these. But like, props to them for being like thorough and clear and really.
Well, it's always very satisfying when you make when you have you're like, oh, we made money again, nailed it.
It's actually all of the companies that we're going to talk about write good investor updates because that's how we know what's happening.
We can tell you a few companies we have no idea.
Yep.
Looking at you, Dusk.
The shade gets just like slightly stronger every podcast. Omela also like not just up and to the right, but like step function up and to the right.
Yeah, literally, like we figured something out.
Yeah, part of that is I think is seasonal. Like the back to school stuff is a big jump for them. But like a lot more organizations starting, a lot more micro schools, a lot more.
Remind me what Omela does.
Omela is a platform for mission-driven sort of organizations. So like HOAs, that's probably a bad example of a mission-driven organization. Churches, micro schools, sports leagues, I think are sort of their like bread and butter right now. But they make it like really, really easy to collect information and money from a wide variety of families.
So,
people,
so your
groups.
kid's going on a field trip, and you need 26 of them to pay you money.
Yep.
You
It
use
is
this.
10x better at least than Venmo.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That is
it replaces like Venmo, spreadsheets, sticky notes, like the chaos salad that goes with like regular money collection from a large group.
Trying to update your spreadsheet when you see that payment come in.
Yeah.
Blah,
it's
blah,
really
blah.
clean. They're smart. They're growing. These dudes you bet on every day of the week.
Yeah, I just got an email from them that launched new features. Like
they write great updates.
Yes,
they write
do.
great updates
Excellent.
the first of the month, every single time. Like, here's our KPI, here's our progress, here's like 3 bullet points. It's money. Yeah, and this is the whole thesis. Like, Brett is such an amazing, like, customer driven, like, product iterator.
And this was your buddy, right?
Eric's buddy. I knew him through Eric, maybe prior even to
I think you guys
Omello, or
met a
very
couple
early
times.
on. Yeah.
Good network, Eric.
But yeah, Brett and I went to college together. Like, this is what he did with Remind too. He's just like
you were just
ruthless.
telling us how much you hated going to college with Brett. That's so weird that he.
Yeah,
actually
I remember that. Actually, it was just right before the podcast.
Yeah.
started.
He didn't turn it on yet, but it's so weird that he's one of our best
I think
ones.
Brett is one of those where if he decided he wanted to shut this down tomorrow and start another one, it would be like a cool. Can we invest?
We'll come along with you
Brett
still.
every day doing anything.
Yep.
He is awesome. And another step function was Gently too. They have been shipping like crazy.
No, it's funny because we invested in them as two people. Two
people in an email alerts product.
Yeah.
With a different name, I think. Even.
And then
with a different name 10 months ago.
Then they raised a couple $1 million and like started building a team. And it's like, oh man, 2 + 5? This is great. They're doing great. So they're hiring, doing a good job. Product looks cooler and cooler.
Mm-hmm.
But literally their usage went like from, it's a nice little trajectory to like a steep jump that they were excited about. And we are too.
They should get a huge holiday bump too, I would guess.
I bet. And again, Gently is the secondhand aggregators. So like you go there to search amongst Poshmark and eBay and
Real.
Real and all those sites where people are going to list stuff, and they do the hard work of like identifying what that item is, associating it with the actual product. So you can say, I want to follow when pair of boots, this specific pair of boots from
size
Red
14
Wing.
Once
Once those show up,
Al.
send me a note and I'll look at it every time. And it looks everywhere and sends you that, or shows you that stuff. Which is cool.
The alerts is where they started, but they now have like platform, like they're building like the searchable sort of explore pages, and like they're iterating like their vision is like Amazon for secondhand, like to be the marketplace. And I think alerts is like such a smart place to start.
Is they're like, we don't ever want to be the marketplace.
Yeah.
We just want to aggregate all these guys and let them do the hard
they
work.
Make money every time you click through, and
that's right.
Purchase other stuff. I'm going to buy you guys Christmas presents through Gently.com.
Okay.
That's my resolution.
Good.
Feel free to join in.
I'm in.
No pressure.
I'm going to buy something else.
I'm going to get you the secondhand moist maker. I did learn, while we're on this, guys, I did learn that moist maker is currently owned, moistmaker.com. By a band.
What is it?
It's now my new favorite band.
We're gonna make that the outro music today. The moist finger. Like, let's see if we can license that real quick. Anything else on Gently? Like they're just growing like crazy. Please,
dude, it's so fun when you like. I mean, this is with anything, but when you throw money into a thing, like, I don't know. Yeah, I think that like I like the idea. It makes sense to me. Let's go, and then it like works. You're just like, it's happening. We're watching a company happen.
Fast, right?
Yeah.
Like they have like the Web 2 dynamic of like the consumer web piece where like you hit the right vein, you find the right audience, and it kind of goes. Like this is not an old company. It's not. Frankly, it feels very different to me than like the what's in stock for Stell Engineering.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're betting on a couple of really smart people who really understand the space, but we know this is going to be a grind over years to turn it into. This is one of those where it's like, oh, hey, right out of the gate, off to the races. Yeah. Like, let's go, guys. So it's cool to see those different kind of companies in the portfolio, I think.
Yeah. Oh, every time I get there in updates, I'm like,
yeah. So
like,
good. Yeah. So good.
Yeah, those are cool. Yeah, we have a very like, I guess I don't know. Tonic Audio probably doesn't really count as B2B. That's like is that C or B?
No, I mean they'll be working with like music labels and stuff.
Business. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we got a pretty like B2B software heavy quarter.
Accidental,
but rad. I feel like those are gonna make some money.
If you're not selling to consumers, you're going to make money.
It just feels less fickle.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I don't know. Maybe we're not taking enough risk, but I feel like those are all going to do great.
Yeah,
honestly.
we're doing a fine job.
Cool. Glyph. What do we? I don't want to tip too much tea on Glyph.
Let's see a few updates. So Glyph is exciting. They changed their design. They're working through a bunch of stuff. This is a great team that knows how to execute already. And so they're like, no, we expect to ship by Q3 next year. It's going to be a tight deadline. We think we can get it. We've already got like the factories online in China to get the manufacturing done. They're solving a bunch of stuff. So enthusiastic supporters of them. Really, a lot of our value is going to come as they start working through the distribution and marketing. We're gonna, we'll hop on the phone again with those guys. But like another great updates. And they're not selling anything. They're just figuring their stuff out and watching it happen in real time. It's like, oh, we like this even more.
Yeah,
this is great. Which is a nice. All of our companies, we haven't said that, right? Like some updates will have, and you're like, oh, I'm not as excited about this one, but you've got my money, so that's fine. But when they're like, oh, you guys figured even more stuff out, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. They're fine. I had no expectation that they were going to be able to be on shelves in like 12 months. That feels like a crazy pace.
Pretty awesome.
But with this team, I trust
it. Hardware product in, yeah. And Glyph was just to remind you guys, it was the original Cricut team, the Cricut Cutter.
Yeah,
to be clear,
CRICUT, not Cricut Wireless.
Yeah, they're coming back together because they think they were trying to solve the Cutter Plus, right? It's Cutter Plus printing, and making, and all these other use cases.
Etching, cutting. Yeah,
we described it as the KitchenAid of the craft room. So that's what we're doing.
It's an impressive. If they can pull off what is on paper right now, it's going to be huge and quickly, I think.
Anything from Terran Robotics? That guy doing anything cool?
I think they're working on a next fundraise. They're building big structures.
It's not just him now, right?
No, there's a handful of them,
dude.
They added robotics engineers.
They're building real structured stuff.
They are building a bigger structure. Well, there's two things happening. One, they're building like a demo structure that is like largely by hand, but they're testing finishes. So like the main innovation is kind of like the drone and like AI flight to place everything. But they're also, and I don't think they like get enough credit for this, like innovating on the material side too. So it's not just traditional Adobe. They're figuring out like new ways to finish it and waterproof it and like build really sound cool structures with it. So they're doing some testing. And Daniel Weddle, their like chief design officer, is like sort of leading that stuff. And so they're like in their junkyard that they're based in. Basically, they're like building a like 15 feet tall with like a dome thing.
I want to come build a thing on my property so bad, man. We just need like the Terran tribute.
Yeah. I mean, they're working on the. They got the first permit to build like a 3D printed. It fits under the 3D printed like qualification or whatever in Indiana, and they're working on that for Habitat for Humanity, which is like a revenue producing thing. And they're just like, if they have to build 90% of it by hand and 10% with drones, they are. If they can get to 80-20, if they can get to 50-50, like they're doing a cool sort of like iteration between human and drone to keep moving that dial up. I know they're talking to some like seed stage investors. I don't think they've closed any of those, but I think they're like getting term sheets and showing progress. And really, really smart, cool guys. And I love that. I love that vision.
Cool.
But yeah, I think that's the portfolio updates.
Wait, what do you think of Twitter and Elon, Bo? I've been waiting to ask you.
It's wild. Site's still up,
dude.
It's fun. It's one of these things where like I feel like I've had a conversation like a dozen times over the last 20 years where it's like, hey, if you have like a business that's really network effect driven like that, or that is just a runaway leader in its market and it is a software product like Google search and AdWords or something, what would it look like instead of like chasing the 100,000 person company and the $1 trillion market cap to say like, hey, could we do it with 20 people? Could we do it with 50 people?
Yeah.
Could you really run a super lean thing? And it's like a wild and aggressive experiment that he is like kind of intentionally pursuing to say like, what does lean Twitter look like? And I'm like, I think I'm kind of into it. I mean, I think it's kind of wild and very disruptive to a lot of people. And I can understand why people get in their feels about it. But I think it's going to be a really interesting experiment that
does he turn it into WeChat? Do we get the super app on the other side of it?
No. I think no. I think that super app dynamic in the US is just very different than it is in like the other parts of the world. But I think he may make a really profitable, really lean Twitter that can move in directions and more quickly than actually like any tech company of that size.
Do they have any advantage in like contextual ads? Because I mean, honestly, if their ad product got like to parity with Instagram, like they did it. They nailed it, right? Like, because people, like advertisers, need spaces to reach people. The problem is Twitter ads suck so bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, is there enough data in my profile to give you a good idea of what I should see? You think?
I think so. They like, you see such good, quote unquote, good data in like in the algorithm, in surface tweets, in topics that you like. They're auto assigning you topics constantly based on your activity. Like, if you feed the algorithm anything, like I think they could be doing. I get ads for like prescription drugs and like random shit that is like not even close.
Random ego-driven dudes promoting their own tweets and stuff. It's like, I don't want to see any of that.
Yeah, no.
Ryan Breslow.
I love Twitter. I love the network there, and the product is like good enough that I can love the network without the product getting in the way.
Yeah,
I think there is like a different experiment going on, which is like, hey, can you keep that network and take care of it and also make the product something that is like a first class experience? And like, I like hope so. Like, that's what I would say is like, I hope so, because like Twitter is the replacement for everything that I used to get news from, and it has been for years for me. And it's never really felt. I mean, it's different things to different people because it's a network driven product. But like, I hope the best Twitter gets found, and they deliver us something that like really accelerates.
It'd be amazing. Like, if he can cover his $1 billion a year interest payment and like live for 2 or 3 years, I think he's got a real swing at doing something cool. Unless Apple takes him off the App Store.
Yeah, that's a wild,
little plot twist.
Plot twist.
Tim Cook hates you, Elon. Now what?
Shouldn't have talked shit.
I mean,
fuck around and find out, Elon. There's not a lot of people who can like,
should have kept your mouth shut.
Yeah, fuck with Tim Cook.
Yeah, I think it is another very fun drama going on in the tech space that is a distraction from FTX and is easily as dramatic probably if you're on the inside. And I hope that they pull it off as a user. That's what I would say, right? Like, I'm probably like less inclined to have too many feelings about like what it is like internally, because it sounds hard and messy and whatever. But I hope what comes out the other end is like something awesome. So
I hope that for like, as an Elon fan too, which is like a dangerous kind of thing to say these days, he's got so much haters, but like it was so clean like 2 years ago when it was like, this is the guy that did Tesla, he did SpaceX, he did PayPal, like he's pushing like science and technological progress forward, and now it's just like a little bit more like, kind of wish you'd stayed out of this fucking mess and like stayed Tony Stark. But
he does become very exposed here, right? Building it,
and it's a very different thing. It's like there's a lot more feelings about it.
I feel like it's kind of like running for president, where like now today you'd say, why would anybody ever run for president? It's a huge mistake. We're back in the day, it was supposed to be like, oh, well, you have means, you should run for president so that you can help us. And like, you know, as Elon's stepping into this, it's like, dude, you should never expose yourself to people that it's so much criticism, so much, so much feedback. You should just stay on the sidelines, let Twitter slowly die, right? Like that would be a better outcome for you. But like, also, he's an egomaniac, and this is what's driving him. And so you're like, well, I don't have a ton of sympathy for you.
And I agree that it's important, right? Like, I don't think it's like a quixotic attempt at anything, but like quixotic. I never know how to say that word.
Quixote. Don Quixotic.
I mean, I know the etymology. I just don't know how to say it. I only read it. I don't know anybody else douchey enough to say it, so I've never heard it pronounced correctly.
So, let me hear it again.
It's just me. No.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Also, no. Apparently not.
What is the origin? Apparently not.
Okay, I'm gonna throw a glove between you two, because a thing that has come up in our life this quarter.
A glove between you two. I don't know this.
He is throwing the gauntlet for us. Neither of us have to throw the gauntlet because Eric has thrown it for us.
Yeah, I'll slap both of you with a glove and then let you two fight
and then hide.
Yeah, right. Son of a bee.
Because the thing that has come up in our fund this quarter is the concept of an uncapped convertible note, and we have feelings about it. We've had debates, and I think it's worth sort of exploring that for the edification of people who might be investing on their own, might see this, might not know what's going on.
To borrow the words of Maya Bittner, who's a great Twitter follow, by the way. To borrow the words of Maya Bittner, I've never not regretted investing in an uncapped note. Meaning, without fail, I mean, the problem I have with investing in an uncapped note, which I've done a few, because you're like, oh yeah, I'm an early believer. And normally those uncapped notes, you have like 2 years. You put this money in, and then 2 years later, some fund comes in, and they get the same stupid deal that I get. I get 20% better, but it doesn't adequately represent the risk that I took. And there's some of them, that money they take at the beginning can take them to hundreds of millions of dollars in valuation at the point that you finally convert. And there's some that convert at more reasonable valuation, 20, 25 million-ish. But like still, I'm always like, man, I took way more risk than what these guys did. Like I should have just waited and invested with the people that you were willing to give a price to. And so that's where like I think that's kind of my stance in the uncapped note stage, is like it doesn't adequately represent what I'm trying to do as an investor and reward me for that risk.
Brief definition, I feel like most convertible notes have a cap on them.
So go ahead.
No, please.
I was just going to say what you were going to say, but I cut you off.
But you're going to do it better, so go ahead.
Okay. So when you get a convertible note, like when we invest in companies, we either get a safe, which is like, hey, here's the terms, here it is, and Y Combinator gives us stock, so we all trust it, and it's fine. Or you do what's called a convertible note, which is an easy one for your lawyers to pull together, and it says, I'm going to give you $1 million. It earns a nominal, whatever interest. So it's treated like a loan that converts into equity at the point that we do a round. And most of those will say, like, I'm raising it. The cap is $8 million, and then I have a discount of a couple percentage points where like it'll convert at $8 million minus 20% or something, right? And that's what. That's
so
what an investor writes in.
You end up investing in that case in a company valued at $6.25-ish million. Yeah. So it's $8 million minus 20%. Well, that's like, what you end up paying for the equity.
Yeah. Well, in a convertible note, it's the cap. So if they raise at a lower valuation, you get it at the lower valuation, and it works fine. An uncapped note makes no mention of the valuation, and you just are writing a check blindly and waiting to see what happens, which I hate. Fight me back.
So you might find out that you invested at a $90 million valuation.
Yeah.
2 years after you write a check.
And these folks can show up, like a fund will show up and they'll work out the terms, say, yeah, this is fair. We'll come in here. And then you've effectively invested at a $90 million valuation minus 20%. And you say, man, like when I wrote this check, we did not know, we weren't 90 million confident.
Yeah.
We were 10 million confident. Yeah.
And you earned that like 10x by taking early capital risk on the company.
You should. You should. I don't know. What's your experience been with it?
Yeah, I have invested in some uncapped notes.
Did you love it?
No, I didn't love it. But I've never done it when the outcome of that raise and that note was providing a company with more than 6 to 12 months of runway. And when it's a very different dynamic, I think, if it is a short-term raise from a group of people who really don't. Look, the truth is, my perspective is that like the prices don't usually get set by the founders. The prices get set by the investors who are willing to set a price. And I didn't want to be the guy who was going in to set a price at an early stage company. I also did not want them to take my money and like run with it with a 10-year runway. And this is why you don't see like a $20 million convertible note, but a $500,000 or $1 million uncapped note when you know that a company has to go into a raise and that price is going to get set in less than a year is something that I've just had more patience for, I would say, to say like, hey, look, you're going to do an A round. You're a baby little company. I want to participate now, because one of the tricky dynamics with it is it's not true that you would have that opportunity to invest in a year, because the fund dynamics, especially with A rounds and even seed rounds, are an investor comes in and they decide they want to do the deal. They want the whole deal. Like, you don't get to participate then. It's not that, oh, now you get to participate on the same terms as 20%. It's like you're no longer invited to the party, because that investor needs to own at least 20% of the company, because that is how the big boy funds work.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you missed it. And so I don't like really any notes if that's all you're going to have to do, because like then all of a sudden you're a debt investor, not an equity investor. But with short runway where another round is going to be required by professional investors, to be honest with you, the last 2 or 3 notes that I've done that were uncapped were literally 90 to 180 day bridges where they already had a likely lead. You knew the price was going to be something reasonable-ish.
Yeah,
and frankly, getting a 20% discount for investing 4 months before an A round is something that doesn't stress me out. And if they think the price, if it turns out that they think it's a 10, hey, we think it might be worth 10, and they go to market and they can get 20 4 months later, good for them is actually what I think, right? Give me my 20% discount to your 20 because I don't know the price either. And so if Sequoia or Andreessen or whoever tells you that that is the price and it's in a short enough time window, I've just historically been okay with it. An example that the conversation that we had more recently with a company who's raising on an uncapped note was much more like, hey, they may not need more money than this. If they may not need more money than this, it should never be an uncapped note. That doesn't make any sense, right? Or, hey, this is a round that's going to give them 3 years of runway or even 18 months of runway. That is a full round. You should, when you're in a venture-backed company, you're raising every 18 months. If it's going to be a full round to get you 18 months, an uncapped note is a weird thing that doesn't make sense to me. The shorter the timeline is, just the more, the shorter the timeline is and the more it is clear that they have to do another round is where I've said like, hey, in that case, that doesn't stress me out too much. So that
actually feels like a great caveat to carve into like never do an uncapped note. It's like, man, if it's operating like a bridge note, right, or something like that, that doesn't
because there are other reasons to do notes, right? Like notes the paperwork is fast, it's really easy to do, and the truth is, without that money, it's very possible that company that you're now thinking like, oh, great, I only got a 20% discount, they may never have gotten there. Right. They needed that bridge to get there. And so it's kind of like,
in that scenario, would you be okay? Like, because in a note, I mean, the cap is it's the max valuation. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could say like, it's not going to exceed 20.
Right.
Right. Like, but also you kind of don't argue with the kid at that point where they're like trying to get enough money to pay their bills for 3 more months because they just got to hit this one thing.
Yeah, look, so I have a real life example of this that you guys and almost probably everybody who would ever listen to this can appreciate. Like, I actually did a note with a cap in a company that we all know and love, and it was just a super high cap, and it was for some kind of non-market reasons when they were first starting AngelList. And I was like, hey, we can't do a totally uncapped note. It was when I was at the Kauffman Foundation. We were kind of doing a program-related investment. What's a cap that's like high enough that they're better terms than you would get anywhere else, but it gives us a cap? I don't think there had been a line of code or anything. It was like a napkin kind of thing to AngelList. And we put in $500,000 at a $20 million cap. And no one feels bad about that today. So it was kind of like, give me a really high cap in that case. But also,
that's probably a great rebuttal of like, I love what you're trying to do. Let's align interests here.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, if you get misaligned interests where all of a sudden your investors are hoping for you to get a lower valuation, something is broken.
Yeah.
And that is why like an uncapped note and something that's going to last more, because when it's going to convert in 3 months or even 6 months, or maybe at the outside a year, you as a seed investor is like, I'm just super excited you guys got the round done and the company exists, and whatever the price is, I'm just happy to be a part of it because I'm investing because I like you and what you're doing.
Yeah.
As soon as it gets past that and you're like, whoa, this feels like it's been too long. Are you going out of business or are you killing it? If you're going out of business, what are you going to do? You lose money on early stage investing. If you're killing it and you know it and you are not getting or having to go to the market and price it, that means that now I'm paying. I'm paying the toll on that. And so I think the time component in any notes, but specifically uncapped notes, is just really important.
Yeah. Well, like by the contract, it's typically like 3 years, right?
3 years is too long.
But I mean, that's most of the notes I see are like, for 3 years, because the intent is you're going to go and raise a round.
Yes.
And so if you're willing to put like a 3-year cap in there, give us a little valuation cap. I love the idea of like, look, man, we're not trying to price you down, but and for us as an early stage, we're saying we have to be below 30-ish. Like 30 is our top end, right?
Yeah, we can't find out that we invested at an $80 million valuation.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not a cool thing. We can't justify that to LPs. Like that means we got screwed, basically.
Well, we would never write that check knowing, even if they're like on the rise.
That's a scenario. Yeah.
We were supposed to be early, right? We're supposed to. That's the returns we're trying.
So anyway,
I actually like that. I appreciate that experience because it informs my lens a little bit.
I understand why, as a founder, like you wouldn't want to overpay for capital if you don't really, really need it. I understand why you might not want to have a price round if you're like in the middle of working towards a much bigger price round.
Let me tell you I'll tell you one other personal anecdote on this. I once raised a $5 million on a convertible note with $100 million cap for basically a company that was at a seed stage. Okay. So it was a 50% discount or $100 million cap. Okay. And the subsequent round happened relatively quickly at a price that was high, but it was not $100 million. And it created this enormous backwards looking negotiation to say, like, the new investors thought a 50% discount was too much, right? Because it was a $100 million cap. And so, like, people have been kind of anchored on that, but the round actually ended up happening at 60 or something. So did they pay 50% of the cap when they were willing to pay 100 of the round, when they were willing to pay 100? It created this enormous misalignment of team, past investor, and new investor. And it was honestly like one of the grossest negotiations I've ever been a part of.
What do you wish it would have been? Like, what would have made it clean? 20% discount?
A 20% discount would have made it cleaner, frankly. But I think the investor at the time would have not liked that, because they would have said, like, no.
It wouldn't have
How much
rewarded
time
them
had passed
enough,
in between?
A very 90 days.
Oh, very small.
90 days. 90 days had passed in between.
50% discount.
And so a 50% discount for 90 days felt really weird to people. Yeah. But the opportunity to bring in that. So one version would be like, hey, we're not going to do this new round. And instead of taking in a new 15 million that is going to let us really go and grow, we're going to not take it and hope we can get there with 5.
Yeah.
When you're looking at that of the team, you're like, gosh, strategic investor brings on a super awesome board member. There's all of these reasons you want to take it. And you're like, but I can't take it if you want to trigger the 50%. So which is roughly to say, like, it causes non-market decisions when the numbers get high, the discounts get big, the caps get really high, which is why it is not a trivial thing to say, like, hey, just set a really high cap. Well, what's really high? 8, 20, 50, 100? I don't know. I know that 100 is really high because I lived that one. I know that 20 seemed, frankly, like out of market high to me, and even like Naval when we were talking about it. And then in hindsight, let me tell you, AngelList is worth a lot more than $20 million, right? And so it's like, actually wasn't high in hindsight. It was just like that ended up being like a supercharged company.
Yeah.
And so I think that the time element of it is incredibly important, because my example is very much like with 5 million, we could have lasted a lot longer than 90 days, obviously, right? Yep. But we would have sacrificed a huge opportunity to maybe go faster and grow faster. And so, like, then you are forced with these decisions that are not about the company. They're not about the customer. They're not about the team. They're just finance things. And it's like, oh, burdening a baby startup with that level of finance making decision really sucks. And a note that gets you to the point.
Wait, would it have helped if it was an uncapped note? Like if you got people to give you $5 million and then you just figure everything out later. Is that
in a 90-day period, an uncapped note with a 20% discount absolutely would have made it super simple.
But nobody had any real expectation that it would be that after $5 million, it'd be 90 days before you raise the next thing. Right?
Yeah, we could have gone.
I mean, you wouldn't have written that check as an investor. You wouldn't have written that check with that expectation, right?
So it gets much more complicated because of the signaling that happens and all the stuff in the middle, where it's like, hey, let's put $100 million cap on it, and we're cool with the $100 million cap. So like, we'll de facto treat that like that's the valuation. And then all of a sudden you get there and it's like, no. Give us our 50% discount. And it's like, you are right. That's just a huge burden to put on an early stage company to have to navigate those things, when really, like, none of it's about making the company work. And so that is why I would say, like, a first time team that's like, maybe got a term sheet that they're even negotiating, but also want to talk some other investors, but they need money to survive for the next. I don't actually care if that's uncapped, because there's a dynamic going on around it that's like, hey, look, if they lose it, whatever. If they lose all the money, if they are successful getting to that round, I feel good about a 20% discount. Great. I don't want to do a bunch of uncapped convertible notes, but I think there is a time and place where, like, it lets teams move fast and not be burdened by their investors in a way that, like, I'm just not a default no on them. I'm a tell me why this makes sense in your circumstance. And a lot of times it's going to be like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense for us. And in other times I'm like, totally hear you. Let's make this quick and easy for you. Let's go.
Yeah. Al, what happened? What did convertible notes do to you? Or uncapped convertible notes? Why are you so hurt?
Well, let's see. I have one that I wrote a check in. I was very first check. 2.5 years later, big institutional money came in and converted them, and like that just felt sucky, right? But
so you basically give them like a loan for 2.5 years.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Like you give them that, and then your reward is 20% discount. I remember at the time I was just like, these are brand new guys. I wrote the check. I didn't even ask what the valuation was because I knew it was nothing, right? And like in my mind, like I was just too dumb of an investor to ask. And then it's like, it converts at 24, 25 million ish. And then it goes to, like $1 billion, right? Well, you're like, man, if I got in, like we were talking like a $4 or $5 million valuation when I came in, that's much different economics of like multiples.
So you missed 5x more on top of whatever your returns ended up being.
Well, and like at the very beginning,
right.
that X, which makes a big difference in the outcome.
Yeah.
So like on this side, not mad. They did great by me, but like also I look at it and I say, man, I took a huge swing at you guys really early and like really believed in it. And these guys came in when like you had sales and all this stuff was figured out. And like, that's easy to write a check at that stage.
Yeah.
It was really hard at my stage and like that reward wasn't there. And then the other time I did it was, let's see, there's another one, wrote the check in and it immediately was very, very hard startup. The 60 days later, the round went at like 250 million. I was like, holy crap, way to go first. Well, very well done. Is this my friends and family round? Is that what I got? Is this good? It's that sort of thing. And, you're not mad.
Wow.
Like, should I have gotten a $10 million valuation when it's really worth $250 million? No, probably not. But like, also, would I have written a check at $250 million? I don't know.
I think some of those are crazy. Like I was talking to somebody recently about the Rome stuff. They're like, oh yeah, we were investors in Rome. Like, you gave them money at like an $800 million valuation for them to like go buy it. Like they had 2 or 3 investors that did a price round like way late. They didn't need the capital. So they offered like an insulting valuation. Like I'm not close enough to it to give any authority, but there's people who like want the logo or want to say they invested. And then the founder's like, I mean, if you're just going to like give me free money, I'll take it and like go buy a compound in Arizona and like do my thing. But like, yeah, I don't think those investors like, I think the people that go into early stage stuff at hundreds of millions are doing it for non-return reasons, I guess I would say. Like maybe it's like they want to be able to tell the story. Maybe they want to be close to the founder. Maybe, I don't know. But
well, no, like if Elon goes and starts a company tomorrow, right? Like that guy is worth.
I was gonna say, man, like
that's why I like our 100x rule because
it is such a hit-driven business. Thing, like it would have been really easy, and I know people did. Like I've heard Cuban talk about it. Passed on Uber at 300 million.
Yeah.
Too expensive. What are you talking about? You're just getting going. You're in one city, whatever. Yeah. And 6 months later, they're raising at 3 billion.
Yeah.
And in a hits-driven business where like everybody knows it's hits-driven, and like, would you rather have been in at 300 million or not? Was it too expensive? Like, yes, and definitely not. It's just messier than that, right? And which is one of the reasons that like I think the like even at a cap level. When things are moving fast early on, it is an unfair thing to ask of most teams to go and set their own price. So you need an investor who wants to set a price, right? And so like that is their job.
But like at an early, so like when I did Pretzel, right? First round, they're like, great, what are you valuing it at? And you're kind of like, oh, I don't know, 10 million. Right? You're trying to pick a thing that's fair for you and fair for them, where you say, all right, I'll sell.
What I think you're actually trying to pick for is what is like socially acceptable at the time by investors. Because you're really trying to say like, hey, if I was coming out of Y Combinator, what are the terms they set? Or, hey, what's the current going rate for a seed or an A round? It has nothing to fucking do with the company. It has everything to do with what other investors are doing. And so it's like the reverse social proof lens of like, well, other people are raising it at 12. Oh, well, the market's now other people are raising it at 8. It's so weird. It's raising it at 2. It's all made up. It's all made up in the early stages.
It's like pit trading.
It is not like those
No, you're trying to offer at a point that they'll accept, right? Yeah. When it's market dynamics, your job is to charge the most that the market will bear.
Yeah.
And so as a company, you're trying to price it at a point where you can do the round without leaving a bunch on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. And so anyway, I think that early stage pricing is so messy, and there has honestly been an enormous amount of innovation even in the last 15 years about flexibility and different types of funds and all this kind of stuff that 100% get. I'll just never do an uncapped note because they're probably not great for the ecosystem. And then absolutely, if the right team came to me and said, hey, this is an uncapped note because we're about to close an A round and we actually think, I have lived through am I raising at a 12, a 50, or 100 for the same company at the same time, depending on who you're talking to. And as the founder, you're like, well, 100 is the most. Wait, does this make sense?
Yeah. What, yeah.
Who is it? And do I want to work with them? And no. And so it's for the same thing, you have such different willingnesses to pay that I don't want to be the person writing a $50,000 check going in to tell somebody no, you need to name the price. Well, they're like, we don't want to name the price. You name the price. Well, I don't want to name the price. No, I want to support you. And I think I have high tolerance for ambiguity for things like that.
Is it acceptable? Because in that space where my head goes, is I say, look, we want to be a check.
Yeah.
Go put the round together and let us know.
Sure.
Which is for us, we're trying to be early confident checks in.
Yep.
Right. I hated when I was fundraising. I hated the go find yourself a lead and then we'll be a part of it because it's kind of douchey. And so
is that because they need a lead or is it because they need a value? Just I'm not going to set terms, but if the terms are set and they're sane.
No, if you can do this rolling angel round, a lot of it though is the momentum that a lead brings. A $500,000 check means, we're actually doing this.
Yeah.
And without that, it's we got
I don't want to give you 2 weeks of runway.
25K checks that might do it. We'll see. And I was part of both of those. And
look, I on the investor end, I've definitely been on the oh, hey, you need a price to go and raise the round. I'll set your price for you.
Sure.
Let's go. I've done that many times. But how did I set the price? You're raising $2 million. You're early stage. Let's pick a price that feels, yes, it is literally pulling it out of the air, putting it on paper so that they have something to go and shop. And I don't want to actually it is a thing that I did in order to help that founding team so that they could say, hey, we've got this guy, Bo, who's willing to invest at this price on these terms. Now you got a thing to go and shop.
Well, so when you shouldn't take that $2 million if you're giving up half the company, but what's adequate at this stage? We'll say 20%. We'll just do that.
20, 25.
And I don't know. I think I have a lot of empathy for how hard that process is of I need a price to raise, but I need a raise in order to get a price. And just the way that those conversations goes, investor that says, cool, we'd love to participate. Once you get a lead, okay, actually, once you get a lead and they're a blue chip, and I know because the truth is when you get there,
no, they don't need you anymore.
But also you don't. It's not a by putting a price on your note does not mean that you're that, right?
Right.
And so it's funny because in the year we've been doing this is the first uncapped note that's come in front of us, right? It's not super common. Normally it comes, in my experience, it comes from very confident founders that are look, man, you're lucky to be in here.
Yep.
I'll give you a shot, but you don't get to say what's going to happen. If you want the logo, you go with it and it's fine. Or what I'm hearing you say is that there's enough room for some empathy for that moment, pause and consider it. We should not say we'll never do an uncapped note, right? There may be circumstances where it makes a lot of sense. I think as a rule, leaving it open where none of our risk is guaranteed to be rewarded. We should try and lobby against that. But I think I'm with you. I think I'm with you where it's man, let's if you came to me with a buddy that was this is why this makes sense, we should do it for him. I say,
for the one that we looked at for what it's worth, I actually think poking on it a little bit, it actually probably doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But if they can get it from somewhere, fantastic. That said, I don't have a perfect appreciation for the circumstances, and they could tell me one or two things and I could have one or two conversations that would change how I think about it, which is why I don't put it in the bucket of a thing that I'm religious about as much as a thing that like deserves more homework.
That's fair.
And like, anyway, whatever.
You've talked me down from my religious zealotry. I was a Zionist movement.
You know, I'm generally resistant to religious zealotry of all kinds, and that like includes uncapped convertible notes.
In this holiday time? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Let's get so ratified ambiguity.
Yeah. No conclusion.
Ratified nuanced approach.
This is a long podcast.
This is a long podcast. We're almost done.
And is there Shake Shack in the future?
Yeah. No, Al's waning quickly. We need to get him a shake.
Oh, God. You could have had a half a quesadilla.
I know. I could have.
You got pie in there.
You were too selfless. All right, we'll very quickly go through like a couple fun growth things, and then we'll wrap it, and we'll go to Shake Shack. My most exciting update on the LP side is we've got our first family office commit.
Huge news.
Way to go, Eric.
I feel like
guys, you'd be so proud of us. We have a deck now.
We do have a deck. Yeah,
we do.
When we started, we did not expect to put this kind of effort, and this was a full Saturday at least.
Look, we have at least 2 other family offices that I know who are like excited to meet with us after like looking at the deck. So like we didn't even do a terrible job.
Yeah. No, I think the deck is good. The deck is better than we thought it was going to be.
At the beginning, we're like, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to make investments. This is going to happen. Now it's like we kind of really wanted this to do a good job. We want to do a good job for you guys.
Yeah, we're leveling it all up. We're going from like Notion website to real website. We're going from like memo to deck.
Let me just say, like, very importantly, I think that a reason that we are even having those conversations is that we are finding that we are seeing better and more deal flow than we can effectively participate in right now. And like when you're in that spot with no interest in going to raise $100 million and being like really grown up fund managers, but the ability to actually pursue the thesis of like helping great founders who are building cool things is just, we could, with 2 or 3 times the resources, we could actually do 2 or 3 times as much good stuff. And I think that's an awesome thing to feel good about.
Yeah, we're a year in. We have like 12, 15 great companies that I think we are impressed by like the quality of, and we have never once been told that we are hitting anywhere near like an allocation cap.
Yeah.
Nobody's been like, that check's too small. Can you give us like, can we go 50 grand less? Can we squeeze you out of anything? And so I feel like, we know that we can basically double or triple the size of the fund. Still, we think provide great returns, be even more useful to founders by writing like bigger checks and less calls. And it's exciting all of our investors so far have been kind of individuals, and it's exciting to sort of start working with like institutions and fund of funds and family offices.
Well, that being said, we're still our cap is still 3 to 5-ish, right?
Yeah.
We're not, we have no intention of being like a big fund. In fact, that's one of our selling points. Like, we're an evergreen first-time fund. We're not going to do 3 million and then go raise 50. We want to be this size all the time.
That's been an interesting, I think, journey over the last year. I feel like we started just kind of like without really thinking about our position in like the market, the investor-facing market. We kind of came at it as like, all right, we're angels that have been doing well and our track record's good, and we like working with founders and sort of meeting other fund managers and seeing everybody else out there. You're kind of and like hearing what LPs complain about in other funds and like watching GPs like break their own models. Like they have killer first funds and then they go out and raise one that's 10x the size. They have to change their strategy. They have to hire people. They overraise their deal flow, or they're solo GPs that just like can't scale their networks. Like there's just not enough time in the day. And so I feel like there's some secret sauce, and people are responding to, hey, we're 3 partners. We're part-time. We have very different networks. We have a hard cap on our fund at like 5 million, and we will provide those like first fund kind of returns with like minority checks into 100x companies forever. And the real test will be like when we're at 5 million and somebody offers us 5 more, and we will have to say no. And like, I hope,
but what a baller feeling that'll be like. No,
we'll just power trip on it instead. Look on the bright side.
More. Yeah, I think the reason that I know I don't want to go do the big fun thing is because as soon as you get on that wagon, you spend actually a lot of time raising money. Yeah. And like, that's one of those things that people don't ever talk about venture capital in general, is like everybody thinks of them as capital allocators, but actually they are like fundraisers with a whole lot of their time. And they are going around to meet with endowments and foundations and high net worths and blah, blah, blah. And like the getting on the fundraising train is not a thing that I want to be in. I just don't, I don't want to be on it. And like, we have enough resources just amongst ourselves to do the kind of investing we want. And so it's like, hey, who else wants to be a part of what we're doing anyway?
The rolling fund is fun because it's like, whatever you guys give us, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to put in. And let's see.
Maybe it'll be 50K checks. Maybe it'll be 200K checks.
That
depends who shows up.
If you know a family office that would like to write us a nice little check to go into like really early companies and, be a part of this, Eric will take that meeting.
And we did recently learn that we can offer quarterly vintage diversification, which I did not know is a thing that family offices and LPs care about. But
what does that mean?
It like that if you give $2 million to a traditional fund, that you have no idea where in those 24 months you're going to allocate it. And if you're like running a big portfolio, you really want to know what money is getting deployed where and when your capital calls are going to be.
We say no, every 3 months.
And we say vintage. Like, you're going to wire us $250,000 in the first of every quarter. And like, it's going to get deployed more or less in that quarter. And so you can like sort of underwrite that and like fit it into your model a little more easily. So it's another like accidental benefit of rolling funds.
Welcome,
that's kind of
cool.
cool.
Offices.
Yeah, and also thank you, AngelList.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Rolling funds continue to like impress and amaze as a vehicle. So cool. Well, happy almost next podcast we'll be celebrating our 1-year anniversary. But this is wrapping up our fourth quarter. Happy Christmas to us all. We'll I'm gonna go buy you guys some gifts on Gently and let's go get some Shake Shack.
Love it.
Let's do it.
Love it.
I like that we both left Eric hanging with the hat. We could have grabbed one, but no.